Hello, here we are, the fabulous Fine Girls from the Access Possibility School. I'm Christine DiDomenico, and we have
I'm
Simone. Go ahead, Simone.
Simone Padur. And today we're going to talk to you a little tool, and I would say I would call it the knead and tug tool. We both learned this from the fabulous Mr. Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness. And this is kind of how it works. Sometimes some people will call it like synchronicity or something like that, where you go shopping or you have a day where everything's like tick, 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 and it just all goes together. You've had days like that, yeah, Christine?
Sure, yeah.
Did you have those before you started doing Access?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
I just didn't really identify them or wasn't really aware of them. I just kind of was turned off to the fact that that could actually be created.
Yeah, I thought it was like a stroke of luck, like, oh, today my lucky star was in the sky or whatever, like it was really, I just didn't know how I created it. And now I realize that it's questions and being aware. So like our animals do it all the time, don't they?
They do, absolutely.
They just know like, oh, it's going to rain, I'm going inside, or like they have this sense about things. And the neat thing about using these tools, these asking questions tools, and we'll get into more of that in a bit, or maybe even in another call, is that you develop that finer sense of things. Like you almost just sort of, it's those moments when you've just known. So my little story today starts with this little piece. And it's not really like, it's not a fabulous piece. It has marks in it. It's worn on some places. And I sort of knew that it was plate, right? I knew that it wasn't sterling silver. So sterling silver is solid silver, whereas plate is usually copper or sometimes brass. Lead, unfortunately, sometimes you don't want to buy the lead stuff. It's a bad idea.
So underneath the silver is one of those.
So underneath the fine coating, it's silver. And you'll see sometimes, like when it's been rubbed, you'll see the copper underneath, or you'll see the brass. The lead actually, if I'm not incorrect, actually smells a certain way. So you want to be aware of that, because lead's not a happy substance to have around. It kills people.
So get a piece if there's someone you want to kill.
Yeah, well, there's always that option, slowly. Anyway, so I looked at this piece, and it was so weird, because that day I had been in my house, and Christine and I were just actually having a conversation about this, how like sometimes you get so busy doing your thing at home that you forget to go out. And this one day I woke up in the morning and I was thinking of all the things that I should do. And something was like, you need to go out.
Cool.
And I was like, okay. So I took my car, and it was as simple as I just asked questions. I'm like, okay, do I stop here? Yes or no? No. Okay, do I stop here? Yes or no? And it was the strangest day, in that I felt like I was following a trail of breadcrumbs. And I could only go as fast as the questions, because it was almost like there was like a timing thing. It was bizarre. So I walk into this charity shop, or this secondhand shop, and I see this little piece, and sure, it's pretty, but I knew it probably wasn't worth very much, but I couldn't put it down. It was like it was glued to my hands. And I thought, what is going on? And it has no mark on the bottom. And I thought, well, perhaps I'm incorrect, and I should ask to see if it's actually silver. So I went up to the counter and I said, is this actually silver? And she said, well, if it's really old silver, sometimes it doesn't have a mark. And she said, or if it's plate, sometimes it doesn't have a mark. And she said, but I'm pretty sure that's silver, and it shouldn't be out here. And I was like, oh, okay. She's like, there's a set in the back that we're putting on eBay, and it's part of that set, and blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, is it possible to see that set? So she brought it out, and they were putting it on eBay because they knew it was solid silver, because it had the marks on it. So it was even funny that she would say that, because this doesn't have any marks on it. So she brings this lovely piece out, this lovely coffee pot here.
Beautiful.
And it's gorgeous. I think it's late 1800s, early 1900s. And I knew as soon as I picked it up, because one of the things about silver is it feels a bit greasy under your fingers, where plate, your fingers tend to stick. And so you can tell when you pick up a piece, probably once you get the sense of it. And the other big, indication is there's marks right here, right? And more likely they're to be on the side. Some of them are on the bottom, but the problem with the bottom is sometimes people have put silver on the bottom and put the marks.
So can you show us those marks again? Just hold it a little bit higher.
I don't know if you can see them in the
okay.
in the light, but on here you've got the lion, which is the sign of British sterling.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew from that mark. So there was this.
So they put the silver on the bottom to fool people, basically?
Basically. So if you have marks on the bottom, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's silver, is my understanding. But also make sure you do your homework too, because there's so much information about this. I was really lucky to get onto a class by Christopher Hughes, who runs the Antique Guild in Australia, and he has so much information. So if you ever want to really educate yourself on that stuff, he's brilliant. And there's loads and loads of websites. So this is the other little piece that came with it. Right?
Beautiful. I love the lines on that.
Isn't it nice?
Yeah.
And just the color. I mean, you can see, so here's the plate, right? And there's a depth of color and a shine that you get with the silver.
Mm-hmm.
And they're amazing to drink out of, and you just feel really posh.
And is there a way, when you see a tarnished piece, does plate tarnish and silver tarnish?
Yeah, they both tarnish. Relatively the same way, but you can tell by the marks if there's no marks on it. And the marks are different for each country. So the line is for the United Kingdom. There's one for France. There's one for Germany, USA. Mm-hmm. Everybody has their own marks. Now, what's interesting is some of the silver that was made to look like, Mother Britain, that was made in, colonial wherever, whether it be South Africa, Australia, is sometimes worth more because of it. Which is interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah, I don't remember where I heard that or read it. I think it was Antique Roadshow or something like that. And the neat thing about having pieces like this is not only is it great to invest in, but also it just gives you a feeling of, it's like how would you say it? It's giving you some luxury in your life. Mm-hmm. It's giving you, I drink out of crystal glasses, and the difference between drinking water out of a crystal glass and drinking water out of just a glass made of glass is so different. It actually tastes different. When you put cream in this solid silver creamer, it stays cold.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So there's funny little things, and your coffee stays really hot. So you have to be very aware, because
it gets hot
and you'll burn yourself.
Yeah.
And it also has a really high melt temperature. So don't put it on the stove, because you'll be bad. And if I remember correctly, you told me the value of that is much, much greater than what you paid. Yeah, so I paid £300, which is about $600 for the creamer and the coffee pot. And then this is the other side of the story. They said, oh, well, if you don't have the set, it's not worth as much. So I thought, oh, okay. So I had them, that's when I had it valued. And then he said, you won't ever find it.
The rest of the set.
The rest of the set. And I thought, you bet I will.
Tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, so off I went. I trotted to the Silver Vaults in London, which is this amazing catacombs of just silver of all kinds, both plate as well as regular silver. And that's the thing. I mean, sure, a plate may not hold its value, and it's really pretty. And if that's what works for you and that's what you can afford at this point in time, you know, would I love to have a set of beautiful sterling silver knife and forks? Yes. Do I have them yet? Not yet. So I went down there and I pulled my coffee pot out and I said, this is kind of what I'm looking for. And the woman looked at me and she said, that's strange. It's an unusual pattern, but we have it. And she had the teapot and the sugar bowl sitting right there. And it was the first shop I walked into. Like, I was pulled in there. And it went, I said, well, now if I bought the set, like if I have the set together, how much would be worth? And she said, I would sell it for £3,000 down here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
wow.
Yeah. I mean, granted, you have to be aware of where you would sell it, and you might not get as much in some places and that kind of thing. But, you know, not a bad deal.
Not a bad deal. Yeah. And following the energy, just following that knowing that said, you need to go out today.
Yeah. So folks, that would be my tool. Follow your knowing, follow that little voice. And it's never really that loud, I find. You know, it's often that little voice where you're like, yeah, whatever. I won't take my umbrella, and then it pours with rain. It's that little voice that you go, oh no, I'm sure I'll be fine if I park here. So it's, and it's listening to those whispers, because it's usually not loud.
Mm-hmm.
And you could probably ask it to be louder.
Yeah. And we'll have many more stories about how you can find these fabulous finds coming up. So check back soon.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
Lovely talking to you.
Yeah, thanks for all that info. Bye.
You're welcome.